Hi, so this is my new piece that I just did today, and I wasn't planning on talking about it, but it was just such a series of weird cosmic ironies that I felt like I needed to. This did not go where I was expecting it to go. When I sat down to draw this picture, I was planning on doing another one of my colorful tiefling portraits. That's the horned women that I've been drawing that I've been having so much fun with. They're kind of like demonic My Little Ponies. But as I got drawing her, or more kind of, I guess, as I finished drawing her, first of all, I decided to just keep her straight up elf rather than a tiefling, because part of the reason I've been doing these fantasy portraits is for the D&D community. You know, I'd really like to build up a library of resources that are sort of free use character portraits for the D&D community. So on that note, if you are a D&D player and you wind up using some of my art for your character, I would love to hear what you do with them. As you guys fill in the blanks, I'd love to hear about it. Anyway, so as I finished this portrait of this elf warrior, I suppose, I realized I had sort of accidentally done the Draw This Again challenge. It looks almost identical to a character that I drew, I think it was back in 7th grade. It was when I got my very first sketchbook, and I was so excited. I think it was for Christmas, and a family friend had gotten me this huge set. I think it was like 150 Prismacolor pencils, which is a really significant gift. I was so excited, and I sat down that night and I drew a character first thing, and I think she was like an elven ranger or something, and she had sort of this brown hair that was blowing in the wind, and I'm pretty sure she had like an emerald circlet on her forehead, and I think her outfit was all brown. Even the pauldrons, I think that they had sort of that circular motif running along the pauldrons, except in the original it was emerald encrusted brown leather. That picture stands out in my mind. I think every artist probably has hallmark drawings or paintings that they've done throughout their life that they just always remember, and I really wish that I had the original to show you guys, and really just to look at myself, because I think it would be so interesting to compare that character with the one that you're seeing now. Unfortunately, when I moved away from home, I'm pretty sure I left that sketchbook at my dad's house. So that original picture that I drew in 7th grade sort of informed the direction for the rest of this character. The only change I made was making the pauldrons metal, because I just really like painting shiny things, and I really wanted to try out painting that sort of metal knotwork on the pauldron. And it was a challenge. I can't say it turned out the way I thought, but it didn't turn out bad. All things considered, for metal knotwork in watercolor, I think it turned out okay. Okay, so the other weird thing about this piece, this morning over breakfast, I was watching a video by YouTuber Hello Alice, that's Hullo Alice, where she was talking about some of her least favorite art supplies. She mentioned the Strathmore 400 series of paper, which, just to pause there and rewind to last night when I was drawing the sketch for this, I have been trying out a whole bunch of different surfaces for watercolor because I'm very much new to watercolor, and you know, the only way to find what really works for you is to try a whole bunch of different stuff. So I've been trying out a lot of different surfaces, trying to decide what is going to work best for my technique. So I have this Strathmore watercolor paper that I have had for years and I haven't really used, so I was like, hey, I'll try this Strathmore watercolor paper. So back to this morning when I'm watching this video and she brings up the Strathmore 400 series, I just got this intuitive sense of dread because I knew in my heart that was the pad of paper that I had had sitting on my shelf for years that I had just instinctively tried out the night before. Because I experienced a lot of the things that she talked about in her video. The water carries on the paper in a really strange way, and it beads in an odd way. It's really hard to get a lot of saturation with this paper because it just sucks up the water, and it doesn't stay wet very long. And one thing that Hello Alice mentioned in her video was that if you lay down more than even a few layers, it kind of starts to tear up the paper, and I experienced that as well. You can see it mostly in the hair, at least in the finished image, where it kind of just got torn up. So yeah, the paper was fighting me through this whole thing, and I really didn't like it. Now, that's not to say that it's completely useless. Just because it doesn't work for watercolor, for me personally, you know, I might still be able to use it for ink drawings or some other medium. So just because a supply doesn't work for one particular technique doesn't mean that it's useless. And I was using some of the watercolor paints that she called out as not being worth the money as well. And I don't have too much issue with the watercolor paints that I'm using. I'm using the Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolor box, just the little field sketch box, and I really like it because it's really easy to set up, and you know, I can just sit down with a cup of water and start painting. But as she was showing on a series of swatches where she had compared several different brands of watercolor, the final product tends to dry a little chalky and it's not super pigmented. And with the Winsor & Newton particularly, the edges tend to dry with a very hard, dark edge, and I think in this piece that really works against me. I think, you know, it can be really beautiful applied to certain things, so I don't want to universally discredit these particular watercolors, but after seeing, you know, her review and some of her recommendations, I sort of have a list of other art supplies I'm eager to try. That said, I am trying not to completely break my wallet buying a bunch of brand new art supplies. So if you do want to help me save up for some new paints and some different paper, I've got a link in the description of the video to my Ko-fi, which is ko-fi. And that is a PayPal service. It's essentially like a tip jar. If you have a PayPal account, it's secure, it's easy. Alright, well, I think that is about it for this piece. I think that's about all I've got to tell you. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. Please give a thumbs up or comment with your feedback. You know, if you're a fan of the fantasy portraits, let me know. If you have thoughts or feedback on something you'd like to see. Thanks. Bye.